It's Bob from Scrappy Mania, and today I'm going to try my hand at watercoloring a background on a piece of white cardstock. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gesso to protect the white cardstock, so that way as I layer the colors, it's not going to soak into my paper and kind of warp it. So I'm going to take a big brush and I'm going to make sure I take the water out. And then I'm just going to put a light coat of gesso. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back and let it dry, and I'll be back and we'll start painting. Okay, so I have one coat of gesso and it's nice and dry. And then this is the design that I'm planning to do, but I'm going to go ahead and try to do that watercolor technique right there with those flowers. I think those flowers are easy to do. The first thing we're going to go ahead and do is just give it that yellow kind of wash in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of my yellow colors. I think I'm going to use, I have a couple of watercolors that I can choose from. I have this watercolor palette that it was from some watercolor paints that I had in tubes from my daughter. So I have this to choose from. I have this one at Michael's, watercolor palette. It's very economical. And then also from Michael's, this watercolor palette that I also, and this one has a little bit of shimmer on there. So I'm gonna pick between these three. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and have a matte finish instead of a glimmer finish. So I'm going to use this watercolor to create my background. And I think I need to pick, so let me go ahead and position my inspiration right in front of me there. And then now I'm going to go ahead and take my large brush. So you just take your watercolor and you kind of use a lot. I'm diluting the color with a lot of water, so that way it's just a nice light yellow color. And with the gesso, as you notice, it really does not soak into the paper. It just stays on the surface. Okay, so it's nice and dry. Now we're gonna go ahead and start drawing our flowers. So I'm gonna take the inspiration and then lightly, so I'm gonna put my pencil on an angle, and lightly I'm gonna draw the flowers. So very lightly you're gonna go ahead and create your petals. And when I create my petals, I like to turn the paper so that way I'm not creating a petal upside down. And that kind of helps me a little when I create these type of flowers. Just move your paper. And then after I create the big flowers, I go ahead and in between the flowers I do go ahead and draw small little flowers. And they're look more like pom-poms than a petal. So just a round little spiky circle. So now I'm just combining my colors. So I'm using some red with some yellow and some orange, and then I'm really diluting the colors. So the diluted, it's kind of like a coral color, it's the base, and then I layer it with some more of the pink reddish color. And because I use gesso to on this paper prior of me coloring it, it doesn't soak in, so the colors will not soak in, but it's still gonna look good. So if I had a 12 by 12 watercolor sheet, then it really will soak in the color, the water better. But since I don't have that, it's gonna just lay on the surface, which is gonna look okay once you get all the layers of the colors and also your outline. Okay, so it's finished drying. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a little more darker center. And what I want to do is I want to kind of May blend it a little more. So now I'm getting a smaller round brush, and I'm just putting a very red, pinkish red color on this in the centers of all the flowers. Okay, so it's nice and dry. Now we need to get a liner. This is called a liner brush. This real skinny one. And we're gonna make real thin paint with black. And then we're gonna just touch the centers. And then we're gonna just touch these lines, my outlines. And make sure that for this liner or these type of brushes, you really cannot put a lot of pressure on it because your lines will become thick. You want thin lines, so in order to make thin lines, you gotta paint on the tip of the brush. And that's what I'm doing here. Notice that I'm really putting a light pressure, and then I continually dip my brush in more of that black ink. And just going through all the outlines of my pencil mark. And see how already just putting those outlines, it really changes the look of the flowers. You can really see the definition of the flowers. Even though they're not perfect, just putting the outline really makes a difference. It makes it look a lot nicer. So I just continue doing this to all the flowers and all the petals. So I'm almost done with outlining all my flowers, and you'll see me shortly that I'm going to take some nail polish glitter, and I'm just putting some of that on the centers of all my flowers. Okay, so I'm done with my paper. So this is my paper, and it came out pretty nice. I like it. It's kind of artistic background paper. And then what I plan to do is I might mat this on black. And then these are the other two colors that I might use because I have a lot of going on here. I think I'm going to go ahead and tone it down a little bit with the other pattern papers. Then for my embellishments, I'm using this little title that says school days because these are my daughter's school pictures. So this is 2006, and so I'm going to go ahead and use school days. I'm going to go ahead and use this. Now even though it says it was the night before Christmas, I kind of cut that out. So I mainly just want the outside form, and I'm going to stamp a journaling area. So I'll stamp it, cut it out, and that's going to be where I'm going to journal. These flowers are the Tim Holtz flowers, and it just happened that I was drying it because I put some watercolors on it, and I started drying it, and it curved up with my heat gun. So that was a nice little surprise that I get this dimension with these flowers just by simply using a heat gun. So I'm going to use these. There's some other flowers. I'm going to use those. These are some of my watercolor butterflies and dragonflies that I created some time ago, simply using stamp, and then went on top of it with some of my nail polish. And then I may use this trim that I found at Walmart, and then I think I'm going to be using this as well. So this might be something that I'll use on this layout. Let me bring that all over here. Okay, I'm ready to put my layout together. And I have this Anna Griffin stamp that I'm going to use for around the corners. This one's a little harder to punch. The Anna Griffin one is a little harder than the Martha Stewart punch, but it could be done. Now this punch came with a bunch. I got tons of punches here, but this punch is from Imagination, and they're designed for this, and you drop it in there, and then this helps push it down. So I'm going to see if that works for my Anna Griffin punch. if it does work, because it's not that easy to punch down. Okay, fits nicely in there. Now let's see. Okay. See if it punches. It's a little better. Still, it's kind of hard. Even with this special punch, it was a little hard. Those Anna Griffin punches seems to be not as easy to punch as the Martha Stewart or other punches out on the market. So now I'm just gluing everything together. So you see how it made a nice little frame around my pictures. And then I'm using double-sided adhesive, because you really need to use a strong adhesive for the paper, so that way it lays flat on the black cardstock. The only problem when you do use double adhesive is that you got to make sure that once you place it, you cannot bring it up. So you really need to make sure that you have it right. So I'm using a hot glue gun to place all my embellishments down. And if you notice, that trim at the bottom with the yellow fringe was made with the Martha Stewart French scissors. And I really like those scissors. They're it makes making fringe a snap. So now I'm just kind of figuring out where I'm going to use these flowers, and I don't end up using all the flowers, but the majority of them I do use them. And I'm just putting that my little tag there. Then I'm going to place the date and the school year, what grade these were taken at. And I hope that this whole video had given you some ideas how you can create your own background paper for your layouts. Okay, so this is my layout. So I hope you liked the tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye.